Hello, crew members. This is Chelsea Bell here from CruBox. I'm excited to take you guys through our April CruBox, which is simply titled Simple Excellence. The theme this month is focusing on 4 different varietals, which are by producers that make wines that are true to their varietals and simple in that way, but simply excellent because of the fact that they're just super enjoyable to savor. A couple of these wines are kind of more ready to drink now, though really high quality. And then we do have our first wine, which we'll get into in a second, which definitely has some more age-worthy characteristics and is quite splendid, maybe a little bit in the category of its own, but that's okay. So without further ado, I'll take you into the first wine, which is the 2020 Domaine Maurice Choche Fürstentum. I can never say that right. Riesling Grand Cru, which is coming from Alsace. So once again, Alsace is right up in the kind of northeastern border of France, very close to the German border. So you'll find a lot of the pronunciations there can get a little Germanic. And you'll also find there it's actually going back to Alsace, where we actually did a focus on these wines back in, I think, January of 2022. This is an interesting area because it's one of the few places in France where they do put the varietal on the front of the label, which is not typical for French wine for those avid French wine consumers. So an interesting area to get into, but it can be quite challenging, especially when you get up to the Grand Cru status of wines, as there's hundreds of different vineyard sites. So getting to know them can be quite challenging, as some of them are a little more rare to come by, especially in Massachusetts and in the many parts of the United States. So the Choche family can trace its roots back to the village of Ammerschwihr, back to the 1650s. The current estate was established in the 1970s by Maurice Choche, and now his sons have taken over the domain, Jean-Léon and Sebastian. While there's around 25 different cuvées that the estate focuses on, it's only about 11 hectares of vines that they own, and most of them, around 70%, are in prime hillside locations. And all the harvesting is done manually. So some of these slopes are pretty steep. So it does require a lot of labor and maybe a little danger as well. All of the parcels are around Ammerschwihr, except they do have a very small plot in a very famous vineyard called Rangon de Tong, which is a few miles south of the village. But we have this Grand Cru Riesling here, the Fürstentum, which is from a 7th century old vineyard, one of the oldest vineyards possibly that exists. It's a Grand Cru vineyard that is in a very steep hillside, about a 37% gradient in the Vosges Mountains. And it's organically farmed here at about 1,500 feet. Once again, all the vines are hand harvested, and then they're fermented with indigenous yeast and aged in both stainless steel and bottle for several years before release. There's no chaptalization here, so no added sugar, no forced malolactic fermentation, so you get that bright acidity, and no fining here. So maybe a little sediment occurs, but it's just meant to be a very clean, beautiful wine that showcases the intense minerality that Riesling can bring to the table and the structure that you can find from this Grand Cru vineyard. I think you'll really enjoy the combination here of vivid fruit and beautiful minerality. And it's a classic pairing for the classic Alsatian dish, choucroute garni. I think you'll really enjoy this. We love to sprinkle in Riesling throughout our clients' experience with CruBox, especially experiencing dry Riesling and Grand Cru Riesling, or some more serious Rieslings that are meant for longer term aging. They're quite breathtaking wines, and I think they can really be enjoyed throughout the year with a wide variety of pairings. So it's always a pleasure to get to open them and share them with everyone. So second wine, we're moving to an area that we don't always go to. This is the 2021 Cume River Village Chardonnay, which is coming from Auckland, New Zealand. We definitely stick a lot within our comfort zone, sourcing a lot of our Chardonnay from Burgundy or from different parts of California, or even possibly Oregon. But there is a lot to experience for Chardonnay lovers in New Zealand and in Australia, for that matter. But I'd say overall, we find that a lot of The smaller producers there sometimes stick to those specific areas, and they don't usually expand out to a lot of suppliers out in Massachusetts for the most part, for some of the smaller producers that we really cherish. So this is a producer that's run by the Broshkovic family. And they are encompassing Kume River Wines encompasses about 30 hectares of vineyards with predominantly clay soils and sandstone. And what's nice about the soils is they don't require irrigation. So it really keeps the quality of the grapes very high. They also trellis the Chardonnay in a specific way so that they can increase its exposure to light and increase the quality and maturity of the grapes. And these are all, once again, harvested by hand. So no mechanical harvesting here. We're not talking about millions of cases. I think the overall production of Kume River is as a whole around 200,000 or so bottles a year. This is an entry-level Chardonnay for them. So they're village level Chardonnay, and it's just lovely. It's fermented in 40% old oak and a combination of 60% stainless steel. And it's a really nice combination of that vibrant fruit, but then also some really nice texture and a flinty kind of minerality that peeks through as well, and some notes, a lot of citrus and stone fruit too. So something really elegant, beautiful, great for Chardonnay lovers. But I think, once again, if you're on the fence about Chardonnay, it's a nice way to kind of dip your toe into the pool, as Chardonnay and Riesling are two of those varietals that can be quite polarizing because they can just be so different depending on the producer, the region, how they're aged, all of that good stuff. So I hope you all enjoy. Moving on to our next wine, taking you to Burgundy. It's always exciting when we're able to have wine from Burgundy, as it's one of our favorite regions in the world. The 2022 Jaeger de Fay Rouilly Rouge. So this is coming from the Rouilly appellation. And Rouilly is definitely an appellation to look for that should be at the top of your list if you're looking for value in Burgundy. I know that word is maybe a challenging word to use because there isn't a ton of value in Burgundy these days because of the production, but there's always still little pockets. And Rouilly is in the Côte Chalonnaise, which is just south of the Côte de Beaune. And you find Rouilly, Givry, and Mercury are three appellations there where you can find relative value in the Pinot Noirs, and from certain areas in Côte Chalonnaise, the Chardonnays as well. So definitely something to look out for. This is a really great producer. The vineyards are only a couple minutes from Beaune and share a lot of the similar aspects. And it's also too owned by Hélène de Fay. She's the wife of Didier de Fay, which is Didier runs the Chablis producer Domaine Bernard de Fay, which is a producer we do a lot of work with. Actually, I think we just had a CruBox with one of the Chablis. So this is only a very small estate, about under 5 hectares, and just really high quality organic viticulture, and a property that goes back to the 16th century. So I think it's a really nice way to experience kind of well-made classic Pinot Noir from Burgundy that doesn't have to knock your socks off. This is a straight village wine, the Rouilly, but Jaeger de Fay is known for a lot of their premier cru vineyard sites they have as well. So if you like this, we can always make some recommendations of some other great wines within their portfolio. So please enjoy. Last but not least, we have the 2016 Ronan, which is by Chateau Clinet, coming out of Bordeaux and specifically out of Pomerol. So we have Bordeaux as our last region, obviously a classic region, another region that we do so much work with, but this is an interesting property as it's one of our team's favorite producers on the right bank. Coming from Pomerol, the village, which is known mostly for Merlot and known for being very small production. Clinet lies on one of the highest points of this plateau, and it's recognizable by the red shutters and beautiful rose gardens out front, and one of the oldest vineyards in the appellation, which dates back to the late 1500s. So this is a entry-level wine that they make. You find that a lot of famous chateaus only make 1 or 2 wines. They'll make a entry-level or second or third label wine, which is going to typically come from a lot of the vineyards or a lot of the vines in the property, but maybe there's some of the younger vines of the property and they're meant more for immediate drinkability, but can still really showcase the quality of the vineyards and the prowess of the winemaker as well. And this is definitely one of those wines. This is supposedly 100% Merlot, but there might be just a small little drop of Cabernet Franc in here as well. Coming from the 2016 vintage, so you have a little age here. And this is just a lovely wine that has a lot of qualities to it, where you find a lot of that cherry, raspberry, and black currant, but also too sometimes a little bit of leafiness and a little savory quality that comes through as well. It's just delicious and a really wonderful way to experience Old World Merlot from one of the top producers at a really good price point too. So that's it. That's all 4 wines. I hope you enjoyed this month's CruBox so much. And I hope you get to enjoy the start of spring and everything that it has to offer. And I look forward to seeing you all soon. Thank you so much. Bye.